see that seamless segue. Because I'm greedy, I've got 2 panels. So, guys, if you could indulge me by talking to me a bit about your expedition experience and how you're planning to apply that back in your life at home. To start us off, can you introduce yourself to your audience and which expedition you've been on, please?
So, hi, I'm James. My original expedition was Oman in 2013, and then I was back last year in the Yukon as a trainee leader, or TL.
Hi, I'm Eliana. I took part in the Dango Next Generation program in Iceland through 2015 and 2016, and then came back as a trainee leader in 2017 in the Himalayas.
I'm also James, unfortunately, and also went to the Yukon in Canada.
Great, thank you very much, guys. So, James G, starting with you. What response have you had when you talk to people about your expedition experience?
So I think this response over the board has been excellent from the expeditions. I think it's largely because whether you're going to the jungles or the Arctic or the deserts, these expeditions are really credible, and they're credible because they are really tough. So people are quite interested to hear what you've been up to and see what you've been doing.
Fantastic. And James C, what did you learn on expedition that you didn't know before?
Well, something I certainly learned was that you can have fire and rain. You can have wet everything, you can be cold and everything, have wet firewood, wet everything really, and still have a fire if you really need it to. You know, after being in the rain, getting soaked through, getting cold, needing that cup of tea just to keep you going. If there's a will, there's a way, so to speak.
And Eliana, you've been on an expedition with us before, so what did you learn on your first expedition?
I think throughout all of them, but mainly the first one, I learned a lot of skills that actually I've carried on through, not just sort of in my everyday life, but also the expeditions that I've done since. I've learned something new from every expedition. So
Right.
whether that's leadership skills, emotional intelligence, it's all been very applicable.
And you were a trainee leader, is that right, Eliana?
Yes, that was in the Himalayas last summer.
Did you learn anything new as a TL that you didn't learn as an explorer?
A lot of patience. A lot of patience.
I'm surprised you didn't learn that as an explorer, Eliana.
I did.
I think
I learned
that's-
it even more now.
Yeah, good. And James G, you were also a trainee leader. What did you learn through our TL programme this year?
So I guess I learned 2 things. So the first is that a scientific name for a group of TLs is a mischief. I don't know why they got that from. But secondly, I came into the trainee leader scheme thinking it'd be very much like the mountain leader schemes, where you learn a lot of technical skills, navigation and kind of mountain craft. But the light bulb moment for me was kind of about halfway through phase 1 of the expedition. Our little TL team had a bit of a meltdown. So anybody who's had kind of an office argument will know quite how hard it is in a restricted environment. Anybody who's been on an expedition and had to try and keep an argument kind of secret, I know how impossible that is. But through this, we learned this great lesson about working together as a team and kind of overcoming problems and dealing with people who all have very strong opinions and they don't always match. But how to kind of cope with that as a team and work through that together without storming off into the wilderness and getting lost.
And is that something you think you'll lose again, minus the wilderness bit?
Yeah, I think this is like a key thing really for the trainee leader scheme in particular is the soft skills and the development of soft skills is a thing that I don't think you can get really anywhere else. I've not really seen it in any of the schemes outside of British Exploring Society, so it's something that's really quite unique to BES and something that I've gained a lot from.
Great. And James C, just returning to you, how has expedition changed the way you live your life at home?
Well, living in London, the urban rules of London, and after coming back from the true wilderness that the Yukon is, noticing little habits I've picked up, like walking across grass verges rather than walking all the way around on the pavement, and realising quite over 6 months how big a difference that makes. The mark you leave, going back to the John Muir Award, and leave no trace, and the little trace you don't notice, but actually over time it builds up.
Great. And James G, what would you say to someone considering taking part in a British exploring expedition?
So I think the biggest step for most people is just signing up initially and getting started. So I know that originally on my Oman expedition, I signed up and then I dropped out. And then I got a phone call from Sue saying, why have you dropped out? You need to sign back up. And I was like, I had all this idea about I had to have everything in line before I went on the expedition, and I was thinking kind of 5 steps ahead. And the analogy that I use is ready, aim, fire is the normal way of putting things, but actually you should kind of change the last 2 around and just go ready, fire, and then aim. And things just have a way of working out. And it might not be very easy, but once you've committed and taken that first step, that's the hard bit done, and you can just kind of figure everything out. And you don't have to know how you're going to fundraise everything, because there's options available and stuff. So.
James mentioned fundraising there. Eliana, tell us a bit about your fundraising journey.
Yeah, so that was also quite a ready, fire, aim. James spoke before about making an impact, and over the years, British Explorers made an impact on a lot of young people, but I think what most people don't realise is that that impact is actually a lot more widespread. So whether that's just from a change of mindset or something like the fundraising schemes for Explorer Miles, that impacts not just you from what you learn, but it also impacts your local community.
Do you want to tell the audience a bit more about how the Explorer Miles scheme works?
So you volunteer at a local community, sort of charity, service, anything, and you're fundraised by sponsors and donors of British Exploring to do that. So I volunteered at a youth centre that's close to me, and I learned so much from it, as well as being able to give back to my local community.
Fantastic. And finally, guys, one last question to each of you. What do you have planned next, James C?
So I'm fortunate enough to be going off to Kenya with VSO over the summer.
Cool. Eliana?
I'm doing a geology degree. I'm hoping to go on to do my PhD and maybe become a science leader in the future.
Cool. James G?
So I'll be wearing a British Exploring badge in my Boyne next week as I try and paddle across Scotland on a stand-up paddleboard. And then I'm training to be a mountain leader, and I'll be back as an adventure leader soon, hopefully.
Amazing. So we have some leaders of the future on the stage in front of us, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.